Hi, this is Julie Hart with Awakening with the Masters, and I'd like to welcome you to this call. Today's master is Dr. Matthew James. Dr. James is the president of Huna University, an accredited institution for online learning. He is a master trainer of neuro-linguistic programming and is the author of the book, The Foundation of Huna, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Times. In today's modern world, many of us find ourselves feeling mentally and physically drained, completely out of balance, and wishing for more fulfillment in our lives and relationships. Today you are about to learn ancient Hawaiian wisdom that has been passed on to Dr. James as he carries the lineage of one of the last practicing kahunas of mental health and well-being, and on the subject of being pono, or being at peace and totally right with yourself and others. You are about to discover the profound changes that you can experience in your health, wealth, and relationships by applying these ancient Huna secrets to your life. You will understand the importance of pursuing a life worth living, and also how to walk your talk, how to give and receive forgiveness, and how to truly love yourself unconditionally. Today you will experience some of the simplest and most effective techniques ever discovered for thriving in our modern world. Listen closely, and you might even hear how to donate weight if you are heavy, how to create a job you love, and even how to heal a loss. So without speaking any longer, Dr. James, I am so honored to have you with us today. Thank you so much, and welcome to the call.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. As we get started, I learned an interesting fact about you, that you first practiced transcendental meditation when you were 5 years old. Would you mind taking a moment and share with us how you got started on this path at such an early age and how it eventually may have led you to your path of studying Huna?
Absolutely. I always had a curiosity, and the story is actually kind of a funny one. I went up to my mom one day, and I had peeked into the bedroom, and I asked my mom, "What are you guys doing there in the bedroom?" And she had a look on her face, considering that I was 5. I have a 4-year-old now, so I guess if she asked me that, I would get the same look, I think. And I said, "Dad's sitting there, and he's all wrapped up in a shawl, and he's got this eye mask on and these headphones on. It's like he's blocking out all the sound, all the sight." I said, "What is he doing?" And my mom explained meditation to me, and for some reason, I just wanted that. She kept it in a very simple term and simple concept. And I began meditating when I was 5 and continued to meditate all the way up through my teenage years. And when I was about 12 or 13, my father came home one day, and he asked me if I was still meditating. And I was. I mean, granted, I was a kid. I can't tell you it was every day, but it was probably about 4 or 5 days a week. And he said, "I'd like to teach you a meditation called the Hio'olani meditation." And it's a meditation on the light that's a very powerful meditation. And the first time I did it, I went deeper than I ever had before, and I connected with something inside, and I asked my father, "What is that?" And he began to explain to me that he's been studying with a person by the name of Papa Bray, who was the son of one of the last practicing kahunas here in Hawaii. And although he has family members, Papa Bray gave permission to my father to carry on the teachings. And we've been teaching here in Kona for about 21 years now. We've been doing our workshop twice a year. And so this has been entrusted into our family, and I began learning it at a very early age. I teach it now. My son's actually begun to learn it, so it is moving to the next generations, and it's in alignment with the Hawaiian word is kupuna. I guess the closest English translation would be the elders, the people that would have a say in what should and shouldn't be taught. We've always done our best to maintain that. I continue to study with Etua Lopez, who is the kumuhula at the palace here on the Big Island of Hawaii, the teacher of hula, and really in touch with these ancient teachings. And so, it's something that I've been doing now for, I guess if you count the meditation, 35 years. The Huna for about close to 30 years now, and it's a part of my life, and it's something that I go home to. I teach a lot of different things, and I always love to start off with explaining that Huna is something that has been around now for 28 generations, if you're including my father, myself, moving into the 29th generation. It is something that is near and dear to my heart. It's not something that I read in a book or a training that I took. It's something that truly has a link to the past and a connection to those ancient teachings that people so desperately crave.
Wow. Well, it sounds like this secret that I know that I would like to tap into and learn about. How is Huna similar to or unique from other spiritual traditions, and why is it actually not a religion?
Well, Huna is, the word Huna means secret, if you looked it up in the dictionary. But obviously, since I'm talking about it, it's not a secret. And the more accurate definition of Huna would be concealed wisdom. Now, in ancient times, what I'm teaching wouldn't be called Huna. Huna was a word that pertained to everything in life. If you understood Huna, you knew the depth of that concept or that idea. And that's where the word kahuna comes from. It's the person that has that concealed wisdom. And a modern-day example would be, we're obviously going through a turbulent economy. For some people, not for everyone, but that's again my point. For the people that are thriving in this economy, it's as if they can see beneath all that clutter noise, that surface-level distraction, and find that concealed wisdom to be prosperous. People in relationships after 30 years that still have that spark, it's as if they've delved into the depths. That's what the word Huna means, but the more accurate thing that I teach is called Ho'o Mana. Ho'o means to make, Mana means life force energy. You put those two words together, it means empowerment. And so truly what I teach is about empowerment. If the modern equivalent would be more of the psychology, if psychology included the concepts of energy, of higher consciousness, of the collective, and if it was open to all of the holistic approaches that was out there, that's what Huna would be. And so while there was a religion here in Hawaii, what I teach is more about how does each individual become empowered on their path so that no matter what they're doing, no matter who they're meant to be, that they're tapping into the true essence of that energy that they have inside.
Very good. And how does it relate to the concept of being pono and totally at peace with ourselves?
The word pono is such an important word in the Hawaiian language. The word pono means right, but it doesn't mean right as in I'm right, you're wrong. It means right as in having unwavering congruency in yourself. When you're pono with yourself, you look in the mirror and you love your reflection. You love what you see. When you're pono with something that you're doing in life, it's as if you're free from any of that past baggage that we tend to carry. In Western thinking, we really tend to act from a place of, and again, I don't want to throw out a universal here. It's not that we act all the time like this, and I've done it in my life too. So again, not casting any stones here. I've been there, I've done that. And so I always have a great deal of empathy for people that are going through things in their life. Relationships. I've had past relationships in my life, and I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was getting out of one relationship, and as I was going into the next one, I sat there going, I'll never let someone do that to me again. Well, you're carrying the baggage into the next relationship, and you're doomed to repeat certain things. The same is true with diet, with health and fitness, with prosperity, with career. I mean, you name it. In every area of your life, if you're carrying that baggage forward, in other words, if you're not pono, you're putting that energy into the next path. And so the word pono, which is a part of the Hawaiian forgiveness process, ho'oponopono, to make things right in your life, it was very important because you wouldn't take action in ancient times unless you were pono, unless you were right. And that's in every area of your life.
Very good. And now that you've brought up the Hawaiian method of forgiveness, what can people learn from ancient Hawaiian traditions about forgiveness, and why is forgiveness so critical right now?
Well, the process that I teach, ho'oponopono, is an ancient forgiveness process. It's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. When I was taught this by my father, he had studied with a lady named Morna Simeona, who a lot of people are becoming familiar with ho'oponopono through Dr. Hugh Len. His teacher was also Morna Simeona. He's carrying on that lineage, that tradition. My father also learned Ho'oponopono from the Bray family, so definitely something that I practiced for a long time. And it's how do you gain forgiveness with yourself? How do you gain forgiveness with others? And when I went back to school and got my PhD in psychology, my dissertation research was on Ho'oponopono. And it was so funny. I walked into the kitchen after having crunched all the statistical data, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Honey, Ho'oponopono works." And she looked at me and said, "Well, what have you been teaching for the past, 10, 15 years?" And I smiled and I said, "Yeah, I knew that it worked. My students knew and know that it works. And yet I'll be there teaching a weekend training and someone in the past would come up to me and say, well, where's the studies that prove that this works? Where's the validation of this material?" And truly we have that now. I mean, the research that I did validates that the process really does reduce that feeling of, rather than going into psychological terms, just keep it simple. You're wronged in your life by someone else. Someone does a wrong to you, and you get a grudge. You hold a grudge against them. Ho'oponopono reduces that grudge. It reduces those feelings of I want to get that person back or I want to avoid them. And the long-term benefits of that are amazing. It improves your health by reducing your stress. It allows you to be free of the baggage. One lady in the study that I did, she wrote me an email and said she had been freed from baggage that she had carried for 10, 15 years. And that was doing the process one time with one person. And so this is a technique that I teach. And in almost every workshop that I teach, I make sure that we do Ho'oponopono because I have literally seen thousands of people gain amazing benefits from doing the process.
And I've heard wonderful things as well. Now, in addition to teaching Huna, I understand you're also a certified master trainer of neuro-linguistic programming and that somehow these two systems complement each other. There may be some listeners actually who might not be totally familiar with NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, so would you mind explaining a little bit about it and how the two systems relate together?
Absolutely. I began studying neuro-linguistic programming when I was 13, studied with Anthony Robbins, with Richard Bandler, the person that created neuro-linguistic programming, Wyatt Woodsmall, one of the early pioneers in this, and began teaching it in my 20s, became a certified master trainer of NLP, and have literally taught a lot of people out there that are now out there teaching as well and sharing this information. NLP, again, I like to really simplify things. I've heard people overly complicate things. NLP is just a study of excellence in communication. How do you become an amazing communicator with yourself and with others? And NLP is a study of the relationship between your conscious mind, who you think you are, and your unconscious mind, which is, according to psychology, anywhere from 90 to 95% of who we are. And so it really helps to enhance that relationship. Huna is the study of the connection between the unconscious mind and energy or higher consciousness or the collective or any other word that you would put out there that relates to higher awareness or higher consciousness. So the two together are a complete study of the three aspects of who you are: your conscious mind, your unconscious mind, and your higher consciousness. So the reason why I still teach both of them, and I'll admit when I went back to school, I did a thorough research and thorough study of psychology and everything that's out there. And I still teach NLP because I found that it is the most clear and concise approach to enhancing your communication internally and externally that I've ever seen. And I really do think it's beneficial for anyone that's on a spiritual path, on a path of personal growth and development, or just on a path of wanting to empower and increase happiness. NLP and Huna absolutely help.
I can see how that being paired with the awareness and understanding of living in that pono, the place of unconditional love for ourselves and others, I can see how powerfully they probably magnify each other. I had never heard of the two being used together, and it's just very interesting. And then also you speak about the flow of energy. right now, because this is a challenging time for a lot of people, and as you mentioned earlier, not everybody, but for those people that are meeting resistance and challenges, how can our understanding of these things all together help people to prosper even when the economy is in a downturn and the world seems like it's in turmoil?
You mean basically how do they take these concepts and improve their own experience of what's going on? I think is that what you're asking?
That is perfect, yes.
Yeah, I've had so many people come up to me. That's why in the trainings, I just got done teaching in Seattle, and a person came up to me and said that they want to make a difference on the planet. And at the bottom of every one of our slides, it says "Empower the Planet." And it's the mission that we have here at Kona University and the Empowerment Partnership. It's the university, it's the accredited university that I run here in Kailua, Kona. And I had a lady come up to me actually in the Seattle Huna workshop that I just taught about 2 weeks ago. And she said, I want to make a difference on the planet. And I said, so do I. I said, I've wanted to since I was a kid. I remember being in high school and people would say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I couldn't answer because it seemed like I wanted to make a difference. And one of the first things that I learned in Huna is that you can't make a difference on the planet unless you've made a difference in your own life first, unless you're pono with yourself. And the techniques that I teach, while they can be applied to increasing your prosperity, to becoming a trainer, to meditation, reducing stress. I mean, I can get really specific with some of the things that I teach. I think the overall theme that is taught is how do you really become empowered in your life? And I've been to a lot of places on the planet. I've been very fortunate in my ability to travel and see many things. And if you go into an area that is less than positive, and I've been to areas that poor countries where the economies are really low, where people's level of empowerment and happiness is almost non-existent. If you go in there not feeling right yourself, you're not going to be able to do anything. And in fact, to think that your job is to fix anyone is already coming from the wrong position or wrong place from a Huna perspective. And I rarely call a path right or wrong. I think in Western thinking, we have spent a lot of our time in our recent and distant history going into areas thinking that we know better and that we can fix someone. And I said to this lady in Seattle, I said, look, what I've learned over the years, and granted I'm not that old and I've been doing this for a while though, is that you need to focus on yourself. And when you become pono, when you become right, you are then able to go out there and assist others and truly make a difference on the planet. You got to start with yourself, though. And I think on a daily basis, work with yourself and make sure that you're maintaining that level of empowerment.
Fantastic. I love what you say about really, it's about our own personal empowerment, our own responsibility to start within ourselves. And I have to agree, the more we love ourselves, the easier it is for us to be gracious and forgiving and to help others. I also recently read, and I can't remember where I read this, but it was an ancient Hawaiian prophecy that says that during times of chaos and acceleration, the need will be for people to arise as agents of calm. What could you share with us about that?
There are so many prophecies that I've read and things that I've heard that come from Hawaii, and that one, it sounds familiar, but again, Hawaiian is such a beautiful language to attempt to translate, and you can take one chant and come up with 3 or 4 different translations of that chant pretty easily. So most of these come from chants. And one of the things that I remember in my learnings, having studied with people like Uncle George Naope, the founder of the Merry Monarch Hula Festival, someone that from the age of 3 till the time he passed away last year, did one thing his entire life, perpetuate the Hawaiian culture and teach hula. He taught at our workshops every year and shared his mana'o, his thinking. And what he said is that in his travel, he got to meet people who do amazing work all around the planet. And I remember him once talking about, a student asked him about this idea of how do you remain calm, how do you remain centered in your life with everything going on around you. And he said the best teachers, the best guides are able to do that. They, in the face of adversity, they have a calmness about them, a centeredness. I've personally never been able to meet Mother Teresa, and she made such a difference on the planet while she was alive, while she was a part of this collective that we have out there. And in all the interviews that I've seen, in all the things that I've read, she never once saw things as wrong. She saw everything as perfect as it is, and she worked in areas that I think if a lot of people went there, they would see negativity and they would see wrong. It's like she had a calmness about her. And Huna teaches that. Huna teaches how do you become calm within yourself? How do you become ahonui, patient and perseverant on the path? How do you gain that patient perseverance as you move down that path? How do you become Allah, to become aware, to see the light? How do you see the light everywhere? Because some of the most powerful teachers, some of the most powerful guides have those qualities of patient perseverance, of awareness, and of seeing the light within everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we had a very brief conversation before the interview where you had mentioned a specific meditation technique. Would that be a good one for us to allow the listeners to experience in order to feel a touch of that inner calm and that awareness?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The meditation is called Hakalau. Hakalau, it literally means to bring your focus in and then allow it to expand outward. And when I take hula lessons, and I'm a drummer and chanter in the hula school, the hula halau, that is there at the palace. And my teacher, Etua, he holds a very important place within the culture, if you would, because he is the teacher there at the palace. And so very, very sacred grounds, very important position. And he always tells the girls, he teaches girls from the age of 2.5 all the way up to kupuna, to elders. And he always says to them, are you seeing the whole picture? Are you connected with everything and everyone around you? Are you in Hakalau? Hakalau means to have expanded awareness. And in addition to allowing you to connect, it really does, from a scientific perspective, activate the parasympathetic nervous system. It reduces stress and allows the person to gain a heightened awareness. And there's a bunch of studies on this, whether it's in sports psychology, in health psychology, and in cognitive psychology. They've looked at this from a brainwave perspective, from a physiological and neurological perspective, and it's so simple to do. And so if you're sitting there, anyone who's listening, if you're sitting there in your chair, if you're standing there listening, find a spot to look at on the wall, just slightly above eye level. You could even look out a window at a cloud or at a tree. Just have it be a little bit above eye level. And as you focus in on that spot, allow your awareness to expand all the way into the peripheral. And you can literally hold both of your hands out at about 180 degrees, so they're all the way to the right and left, and just wiggle your fingers a little bit. And you should be able to see your fingers in the peripheral while still staring at the spot. The idea is to gain as much awareness of what's in front of you as what's on either side. And I've had people say to me, okay, well, this is really good. It kind of puts me in a calm, centered, and balanced state. It really helps to, slow things down. But I wouldn't want to drive in this, one person said to me. And oddly enough, when you drive in this awareness, the best drivers that are out there, sports car, race car drivers, they're in this state. They're able to see the cars on either side while still looking ahead. Well, I wouldn't want to do this during basketball, one person told me. Actually, one of the studies that was done was on basketball players and how are their eyes and how do they use their eyes to see and have total awareness of the court around them. So literally, you see this across the board. People who are successful are able to go into this state and maintain it for extended periods of time. And it really is beneficial in almost everything that you do.
I feel that what you're saying is so right on, and there's a couple of concepts that you've hit on that personally I'm learning just seem to be such unbelievably beneficial practices to get in the habit of, and one of them is learning that acceptance of what is, eliminating the duality, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. What is, and it can all be looked at as good if we shift our perspective that way, and then awareness being everything. What would you say for our listeners who would like to be more aware or aren't aware that they're not aware and they are becoming aware that they'd like to become more aware? What would you say would be a good first step?
Well, one of the things that you need to do is you need to find something that resonates with your heart. I know I've met so many people that are seeking information and knowledge, and I get this question a lot. I have so many people come up to me and say, what should I study? I mean, I study what I study. I've picked my path, and I've picked it for very specific reasons, and some of them because it was passed into my family. Uncle George's sister, Auntie Bernie Kononui, she said to me when it was my turn to teach Huna, she goes, I know you teach people that they have choices in life. She said, but you got to teach Huna. You have no choice. And I smiled and said, yeah, I know. She said, you could. You could. She goes, of course you have choice. You could say, forget it. She said, but you can't. And I think that's what you got to find in your life. You have to find that path where you could say, I could do something else, but to do something else wouldn't make sense. And I tell that to my Huna students all the time. We teach our workshop here in Kona twice a year. I think we just ran our 41st. I've lost track now. It's either 41st or 42nd Huna workshop. And I have students that have been there, some of them, a lot of them their first time this past September, and we're running the next one in March. And I've had students that have been coming for 10 years, and I say to them all the time, you have to do what resonates with your heart, what feels that fits with you. And when you find something that fits, delve into it. No holding back. You let go and just delve into it and truly make it a part of your path. When you love something and it becomes a part of who you are, it's never work. It's never a struggle. It's always easy, and it always feels like it fits and is meant to be. And that's the best advice that I can give to anyone listening. If you've ever done something or experienced or heard something that just feels so right, then that's truly, I think, a hint. It's a clue that that's something that you should pursue. Absolutely.
And that first step, I think, is the scariest and the hardest, but once we're in the flow, we know we're in it, and it's easy to continue. Do you have any encouragement for people just how to break free, how to take that first step, not only with living a life on purpose, but also when we talk about unconditional love and loving ourselves, that is also something that I think is an uphill battle for most of us in modern society, where we're so programmed to not love ourselves or to continually covet more or to strive to be better. How do we break free of these false beliefs that hold us back?
Yeah, I think for everyone it's a different thing that they need to do. I think some people have an easy time picking up a book and reading and absorbing the information. I think for some people it can be very much of a process of knowledge. For some people it's much more experiential, where you need to actually go do something, to go experience that. And, to me, the easiest way to get started is once you have found something that resonates with who and what you are, that you then just go for it. I know it sounds easier said than done, but basically what you do is you begin the process. And whether that's picking up the book, whether that's going to the training, whether it's getting the audio and listening to it, whether it's, going online and doing more research on it, whatever it is, you got to get the ball rolling. I teach the law of attraction. I love the law of attraction. I've taught I taught a person that was in The Secret, and so, I know the concepts of the law of attraction. We teach it at Huna. However, we teach the law of attraction after the students have learned some other basic concepts and ideas. And one of the basic concepts and ideas that the students need to learn is that of cause and effect, that every action has a reaction to it. And I've met so many people that have studied the law of attraction and come into the workshop and say, I know there's something there, but it feels like something's missing because it worked in one area and it didn't work in another, or it worked for my friend and it didn't work for me, or it feels like it should work and it's not working. And psychology ruled out 100 years ago that you can't just think happy thoughts and make everything all right. That sometimes you got to do something. Sometimes you got to take action. Sometimes you need to understand that the action that you take puts the energy out there that then does come back to you. And so what I say to people is that, look, it's one thing to have a thought. It's one thing to have an idea of this is what I want to do. At some point, though, you have to take that energy, that unknown a positive seed of here's what I want to do, and you got to do something with it. You got to plant it. You got to plant that seed, put it into the earth, put it into the earth element. And from a Huna perspective, that's taking energy and putting it into the physical, taking action. I used to weigh 70 pounds more than I do right now, and no amount of positive thinking was going to get rid of that excess weight. At some point, I had to get off my butt and go do something about it. And I use that analogy in almost every single area that you can talk about, and that is that at some point you've got to do something to begin to get that energy moving. And so whatever it is, whether it's pen to paper, putting one foot forward, you got to take action in your life and just get that momentum going so that your habit becomes empowerment as opposed to your habit being anything less than empowerment.
So that it becomes a part of who you are by doing it often enough?
Oh, yeah, and I think it was Aristotle that said we are what we repeatedly do, therefore excellence is a habit. It's not an act, it's a habit. It is a consistent behavior. So I would, building on that concept, what I would say is happiness and empowerment should become your habits as opposed to any other pattern that you're running. And I'm not claiming that the patterns that you're running are right, wrong, happy, sad, anything. If you're happy in the area of your life, then fantastic. If you're not, it's time to start doing something different.
Sounds like a phenomenal habit to begin. And another habit that I would love to recognize more of in all of us, myself included, is the giving and receiving of the forgiveness that you spoke about earlier. And I didn't mean to get off that topic so quickly. Is there a little bit more that you can share with us about that?
Oh, absolutely. In the ancient culture, again, I think you and I talked about this before the interview. I would love to do Ho'oponopono and guide the listeners through that. However, it's about a 45-minute process. And I've done a lot of radio shows and some TV shows, and, I say I've had a bunch of people request this, and as soon as I say it's about 45 minutes, they go, yeah, that's not going to work for our format or what we're doing, or anyway. So, as a part of what we do, I've written about Ho'oponopono in my book. We have a CD set that includes Ho'oponopono. I teach it at all the workshops. What your listeners can do right now, though, is take a valuable lesson from the Hawaiian culture. And that is that in the Hawaiian language, there was no word for I'm sorry. Sorry didn't exist. You can look in the dictionary, and they will have things that you can say instead, but they don't mean sorry. And I have friends and people very close to me who speak the ancient language, and that absolutely are clear on this. There's no word for I'm sorry. I'm sorry is a statement of being that does not require a response. When you say I'm sorry to someone, if you actually try this on in your mind, it's as if when you say it, the energy ends where your breath ends. And in fact, the person's response can be, you are sorry. And I've had people say, I'm sorry, and my response is, yeah, you sure are sorry. So I've been there where the person saying sorry, it fell on deaf ears, and I've had that happen to me. I'm sure we've all had an experience of that. In the Hawaiian language, what you would say is e kalamai ia'u, and e kalamai ia'u means please forgive me. The reason why the word forgiveness existed in ancient times is because when you said to someone, please forgive me, it put the ball in their court. And in return, you would say, I forgive you too. That would create an energetic connection flowing in both directions that would allow forgiveness to take place. So my wife and I, my kids and I, we practice this. So I have an 11 and a 4-year-old, and my 4-year-old can grasp this concept. When she says, I'm sorry, Daddy, then she always looks at me and she goes, please forgive me. So it's okay if you say sorry. It's a habit that even my 4-year-old has. I guess she learned it from school or from something, TV or who knows. And then she says, no, please forgive me, because I'm sorry doesn't create any connection, no response. It was known in ancient times that forgiveness was a process, not a statement of being. I'm sorry is a statement of being. Forgiveness is a process. So you need to begin to communicate in a way that facilitates forgiveness rather than explaining a statement. So I always tell people, whether you practice Ho'oponopono or not, a very empowering thing to do is to get rid of the word I'm sorry and replace it with, please forgive me, I forgive you.
It's beautiful. I imagine raising children this way and teaching them an understanding of Huna at such a young age. I mean, what have you noticed in your parenting of your children and how this has all influenced that?
I think, I first of all, I try to be just a dad. I don't go home and do Huna lessons with my kids. I learned from my father, and that was that nothing was ever forced upon me. The question, if I asked for it, if I had a desire for it, then that door was opened for me. And so I rarely push. I think the thing that it's influenced the most in my relationship and with my 2 children is that it's really helped me to assist them in seeing things in a different way, in experiencing their lives and truly finding happiness. Now, my son has become interested in it on his own. He, I think it was a year ago now, I was heading out to Washington, D.C. to do a TV show, and he had a week off from school, so I took him along with me. And on the way back, I was stopping in Portland to do a weekend training. And he asked if he could attend the training. And so I laid some ground rules. I'm a dad, so I laid some ground rules about the training, and he was 10 at the time. And I let him take the training, and we did a full release in that training of anger, of sadness, of fear, of guilt, of limiting decisions. We also did ho'oponopono. So we did a full release, what the word ho'oku'u, to release or to let go. And we were riding up the elevator after that day we'd let go of the negative emotions, and he turned to me and he said, Dad, it's gone. I said, what's gone? He said, Dad, what you do is magic. And I smiled and I said, well, Ethan, I said, thank you, that's really cute. I said, well, what's gone? He said, I had this fear of elevators. And I looked at him with this puzzled look, and I said, well, when did you get this fear of elevators? And he said, don't you remember Papa, his grandfather? He said, Papa and I were stuck in an elevator during that earthquake. And he said, and ever since then, my heart would race, and I would become afraid in the elevator. And I had completely blanked on that. I didn't remember that he had been stuck, and I didn't realize that he had carried that fear. And he said, it's all gone. He said, I have none of that. And we got up to the room, and he's sitting in his bed, and he looked at me and said, okay, I'm going to try the big one now, Dad. I said, what's the big one? He goes, anytime you talk about the fact that someone's going to die or one day you're going to die, he goes, I would just cry. He goes, okay, I'm going to think about this. And he closed his eyes, and he opened his eyes, and he goes, oh, my God, that fear is gone, too. He said, what you do is magic. He goes, Dad, I'm totally okay if you die. He goes, wait, I don't want you to die. I love you. I want you to be around for a while. But I'm okay. He said, how did you do that? And then he looked at me and he goes, I want to go to Huna. He goes, I want to go do the workshop. And I said, okay. And so he ended up taking our level 1 of Huna, and he's really wanting to come back, and I'm really making sure that it's the right fit, because 11 is such an early age to do this, and yet he has that desire. And so his younger sister sees that, and she's been dancing hula since she was 2, and I think the biggest thing is the positive encouragement, is everything is perfect as it is. You are wonderful. You're perfect as it is. And I'm not just talking about positive thinking. When they have a negative day, helping them get through it. When they have a challenge in their life, helping them overcome it rather than just sweeping it under. And then really learning, how do you communicate with your kids? I think that's one of the most valuable things that I've gotten out of NLP and Huna that I apply in my relationships.
That's wonderful. It sounds as if it's just a phenomenal tool to help you cultivate the calm, steady acceptance that these children need us to be in order for them to grow up being that way too. What a wonderful example you're setting. I think it's fantastic. And I would absolutely love to hear some other specific results, if you may feel comfortable sharing some of the results or changes that you've seen or heard of in the people's lives who have been through your online courses and your workshops.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Anything ranging from one of our faculty members who had lived through severe war times. He had never taken any of our trainings, and he came to a Huna weekend that I was teaching. We did the release there. We did Ho'oponopono. And he came up to me afterwards, and he said, things that I've been holding on to for 30 years, he said, that I haven't even thought of for 10 years. He said, they're gone. He said, I can't even put words to it. He goes, I remember what happened. I have the knowledge that they occurred. He said, but there's no more emotional charge there. There was a lady that just did our workshop in September. After doing the full release and Ho'oponopono, she raised her hand and she said, can I share? And I said, sure. And she said, she named things I had never heard of. She said, I've done this, I've done that, and she named things I had heard of, and the list was going on, and she finally said, okay, I've done every workshop out there. She said, for the first time, I feel free of my baggage, not just like I've swept it under the table. Huna teaches a true, authentic release, and I think the reason why it does that is that Huna has a connection to the ancient lineage. It's an unbroken chain. I can talk about my teacher, my teacher's teacher, and it goes right back to prior to Western influence. It's this unbroken chain that allows that mana, that energy, to flow right into the teachings. And I treasure that because I've traveled around the world and met people. The son of a native Canadian chief came and took our Huna trainings and said, for over 300 years, they've lost their connection because of Western influence. And he came and took our Huna workshops to reclaim that, to take that back into his tribe, and to share that, because I think we have all lost that connection in a way. I've seen people who have gotten into relationships that haven't been in relationships for 10 years, that have lost weight. I mean, you name it, having done this now for 20-some-odd years, I've seen a lot. And I truly think the most empowering thing is just the pure joy and happiness that comes from being free of the baggage. Those are the times where I treasure those the most.
I bet it is the most wonderfully rewarding work that you do, because I think you're absolutely right. What freedom it is to not have the emotional charge any longer for things that have plagued us since we were children, possibly, and helping people reclaiming their connection to their hearts and to their greatness and their divinity and their authenticity and inspiration to go live their lives more authentically and in a place of forgiveness for themselves and for others. I mean, all of this tied together is extremely exciting to me, and the effect that even just one person implementing this in their lives, my goodness, how that can rub off on everyone around them, and then around them, and then around them. It's very exciting. And I have so many more questions to ask you. I'm going to change the subject just a tiny bit, or at least shift it in a new direction, if I may.
Okay.
And that is, I read that Huna teaches that every person embodies both male and female energies. And I'm curious how that might play into things that I've also read elsewhere about being able to integrate both energies, both right brain, left brain, male and female energies, those sorts of things, into more of a unity consciousness so that we can better adapt and deal with increasing stresses in our lives and perhaps changes that are facing our planet and facing us as a species in the days to come. Is all of that related?
It is. The system that I teach, and Uncle George talked about this. Uncle George Naope, he was at one of our workshops, and he would come up, and at the end he would talk to the group, and he said one time, he said, in the modern Hawaiian history, in other words, the recent history, he goes, it was a male-dominated patriarchal society. He said, however, a few hundred, he said, depends on what chant you listen to, could be 750 years ago or so. He said, actually what was here was a very balanced system where there was an equality. And he said, but let me be very clear about this. He said, it wasn't an equality as in men and women were the same. Because men and women aren't the same. And I've said that, and I've had men and women look at me like, oh, I can't believe he just said that, because we live in this world of blurring the lines and saying that we're all the same and that we're all equal. And I remember saying to a group once, men and women aren't the same, they're not equal. And I had one lady, she was about to raise her hand, and she had some color going up her cheeks, and I thought, man, she looks like she's getting a little grumpy. I know that's not... It's a mind read, I know. I said, but I've seen that look before. I said, look, before you ask any questions, let me point something out. Women, for the most part, can reproduce, can create new life. Men can't do that. From that essence alone, we are not equal. If you look at that as how empowering is that a woman has that ability, men are less than if you look at it from that comparison. I said in ancient times in Hawaii, it wasn't about thinking that men and women were equal or the same. Men and women are different. The differences need to be celebrated as much as the similarities. There was an equality of respect. There was an equality of to malama, to cherish. To malama something is to cherish it, like you would cherish a child. You cherish a child that you have, whether they are the same as you, whether they are different from you, whether they are happy, sad. It's like Skylar, my daughter, she said to me this morning something so powerful. She said, I love you, Daddy. And I said, I love you too, Pumpkin. She said, even when I'm mad at you, I still love you. I thought, that's cute. Mm-hmm. I said, oh boy, my 4-year-old knows when she's mad now. That's kind of scary. But anyway, I said, that's it right there. Even when she's mad at me, even if I look good, even if I'm sweaty from working out, even if I'm ugly, stinky, looking good, dressed up, shaven, unshaven, she loves me. And that was the ancient concept. I think we are seeking that, but we've gotten caught up in blurring the lines. And we want to make everyone and everything feel good. And this will take me just a moment to explain. My son asked me once. He said, Dad, what are the 3 things that you want for me? And I said, as a parent, I said, I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy, and I want you to be good. I said, but I can't be in charge of your success. I can teach you things, but ultimately when you turn 18 or 21 or however old it is that we in this society say, okay, you're in charge. It's up to you. I said, I can't actually make you happy. You can't make anyone happy. I said, the only thing I can do is really help you to learn the values and the morals that I was taught, to help you be a good person. I said, that's, to me, the only influence that I have. And I thought he was going to ask me about how do you make me a good person, but he brought up the happiness thing. And I actually wrote an article on this because I thought it was so powerful. I quickly discovered that he spent most of his day trying to make other people happy. Tried to make his teacher happy, tried to make his mom happy, tried to make his friends happy, and when they wouldn't be happy, he would be miserable. And so I would say basically what you're doing is you are attempting to make others happy, and when they're not happy, because you don't know what truly makes them happy, and in essence, I said to him, do you believe that you have the ability to make others happy? Do you have that power? And he said no. I said, I don't have the power to make you happy. I want you to be happy as my son, but if I had the power to make people happy, God, that would make my life so much easier. My trainings would be an hour long. The interview would be done by now, Julie. It would be done. I would go, okay, everyone, you're happy, and poof, people would be happy. And we quickly got to the point you have no control over making others happy. I said, so who is the only person in life you have that you can make happy? And he quickly said, I can make myself happy. I said, so here's the point. You try to make others happy, and that in turn makes you miserable because you aren't making yourself happy, and you don't see them as being happy. I said, what do you think your friends, family, teacher, everyone wants you to be? He said, happy. I said, so you're miserable, and you're making others miserable because they want to see you happy. And he quickly got the paradox there. And I said, so look, here's the deal. In life, you can only make one person happy, and that's you. And I actually said to him, a very valuable lesson is giving up trying to make others happy, because you can't. That doesn't mean going out there and being a mean person, I said quickly, because he's 11. I said, I do things nice for Mommy. I do, if I see something that I think she would love, I bring it home. If I walking by and I, give her a kiss, give her a hug, tell her I love her, I said, I do those things. I don't do them to make her happy, though. I do them because that's who I am. I know it sounds selfish, but in my life I focus on just my happiness. That's it. Because that's all I have control over. I listen to my children, I listen to my wife, I listen to my employees, my coworkers, my students, and I do everything I can to always operate from my heart, so I'm doing the best that I can. So hopefully the people that listen to what I have to say can find their own happiness. I gave up a long time ago thinking it was my job to make other people happy, and here's the weird thing. Once I focused on my own happiness and I truly am happy with what I do, the people around me are happier now. And in fact, they see my happiness and they go, I want some of that. Why are you so happy? What are you doing? What exercise are you doing? What supplements are you taking? Is it your relationship? Is it your kids? And I go, no, I realized you can only make yourself happy. And when you're happy, it becomes contagious. I would rather spread contagious happiness than something else. And so a long time ago, I just began to focus on that. And it takes it back to what we talked about when we began this interview. It begins with you. It truly does. In this life, it begins with you. And when you're happy, others will see that, and it will affect them.
That is perfect. I think your son is right when he said that what you teach is magic. It really is. The energy of what we practice within ourselves and who we are does affect the world around us, and I absolutely love what you teach. In fact, you're taking me back to a time many, many, many years ago. I lived in Hawaii for a short period of time, and I know every time I visited there since, and I hear this from other people too, that when they're there, it just feels magical in Hawaii. People are just magically drawn to Hawaii as a magical place. And so I'm actually very excited to be able to share with our listeners a way where they can take advantage of what you are providing for us from Hawaii. In fact, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here because I first want to just let you know how much this talk has completely shifted my awareness. And I really feel it is time now not to just know this information in our heads, but to actually begin practicing being this way moment to moment. And that's why I'm excited that you have something to share with us. You have a special Huna workshop, a weekend workshop that we can take part in, that you bring to us, because we don't have to hop on a plane to Hawaii, I guess, unless we want to, but we can actually bring you into our home and bring that Hawaiian magic into our homes. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about the weekend workshop? And in a moment, I'll also let the listeners know the link to go to where they can access more information.
Absolutely. One of the things in the Hawaiian culture is giving back, and anytime I'm brought onto a show, we always offer something to the listeners so that they have the opportunity to learn more about this. And some of our weekend trainings that we teach all around the planet, we record them. And one of the ones that we recorded was the Huna Prosperity and Abundance Weekend. And I know it sounds on the surface like the training is all about money, and there is a strong theme of that, given the economy and given the questions that people have about how they can improve that. Yet at the same time within the workshop, is how do you release negative emotions? How do you become pono? How do you become right with your happiness in your area of abundance? How do you redefine what that is for you? So it definitely transcends the concept of money, and it really does focus in on how do you feel abundance in your life, true abundance at a deep level in every area. And I think normally the CD set, it's an 8 CD set. It includes the release, the Ho'oponopono. I think normally it's over $200, and we're offering it to your listeners for $100. And there's a link that they can go to get that. They are going to set it up so that people can download it, so that they'll be able to just easily get that online, so they won't even need to wait for shipping. And what that'll do is that'll give people the opportunity to really take action and to connect with this information and begin to understand it so that they can find their own abundance and prosperity in their life.
Fantastic. Thank you. So for the listeners who are interested in learning more about this and also taking part in this very, very generous offer, you can go to www.awakeningwiththemasters.com/Huna. That's Huna. Thank you again for offering that at half off, more than half off. That's phenomenal incentive. Thank you. For anyone else who purchases the program today, what can you share with us that we might experience or expect to experience right away in our, let's say, our relationships, our health, and our abundance?
I think the first thing that you're going to begin to discover is truly what does it mean to you? How do you define it? One of the very important concepts that Huna teaches is that you need to define what awareness, what health, what wealth, what prosperity, what does that mean to you? And one of the most wealthy and prosperous people that I ever met, Uncle George Naope, it wasn't because of the money. It wasn't because of how much money he had. At his funeral, when the people were coming there were thousands of people that would get up and talk about how he had affected their lives, how he had touched them in some way, shape, or form. And I always use that as an example. To me, that is an example of true abundance, true wealth. In my own health and fitness, I had to learn a long time ago to let go of, I need to look like that person in the magazine or that person on TV. And what does health mean to me? And that's what I had to discover for myself. And I think that's one of the things that people are going to learn right away. What does health mean to you? And how can you tap into that? What does wealth and abundance and prosperity mean to you, and how can you immediately tap into that?
That's fantastic. I guess that's what it truly means to be Pono. You need to know yourself in order to feel right with yourself. Is that right?
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. You do. You need to, because you know what health is to me, what wealth is, what abundance is to me. That's very personal. And I can read a book. I can meet someone who has a different concept of it, and that doesn't make my concept right or wrong. What it says is that we have different concepts, and to become Pono with your own path is very important.
Perfect. Once more for the listeners who may have missed the link, it is www.awakeningwiththemasters.com/Huna. And I'd love to encourage any and all of our listeners who feel a little urge to take advantage of that to please go ahead and do so if you feel so inclined. And Dr. James, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up that you would like to leave everyone with?
Absolutely. One of the things that I share at my trainings, and I said a long time ago, and I think it really resonates with a lot of people, is that at any given moment in your life, no matter what you think you are so much more than that. You have something inside you, that aspect of who you are, that empowerment that can allow you to be the person that you want to be, do what you want to do, and have what you want to have. We sometimes get locked into thinking we are a certain person, a certain thing, at any given moment, no matter what you think you are, you truly are more than that. And if you can remember that, it really does sometimes help you to move beyond the limitations that you feel there in the moment.
Very wise advice. Thank you. Again, I appreciate you being with us today, and I look forward to hopefully having a call with you in the future. And for those of you listening, thank you so much for taking a conscious role in your own awakening and that of the planet. So thank you, Dr. James, and good night.
Thank you.